Amazing introduction. Thank you so much. And I want to just share with all of you, Harpreet is an amazing giver to our community. If anyone deserves to MC this event, it's him. Thank you, Diosco, for inviting me to speak here today. I'm eager to share this very beautiful material with all of you. The first thing I want to reveal to you is this talk is really about you, because you are the future of data science. I love data science and predictive analytics, and I want to see them benefit mankind greatly. That's why I encourage other data scientists all that I can, especially those new to our field. It takes great courage to enter our field. You have to learn so many things. You have to be a continual learner. You have to learn to communicate complex principles to those outside our field. But what we learn is powerful. When it takes you hours or weeks or even months to understand a data science principle, remember that it took the originators of our arts months and years, and sometimes even decades to develop them. Therefore, my greatest encouragement to you today is believe in your potential and be patient and gentle with yourself, even when the world tells you that you're not good enough or smart enough. To help you through all these challenges that you'll face in your career and in your life, I pose an important question to all of you. Is there a way to take the beautiful and powerful principles that we work so hard to learn and use them to more broadly benefit our careers and our lives? I say yes, by integrating brilliance. Now, I want to caution you guys. I am not an expert at what I'm sharing with you today. I'm a passionate student of it, but I'm hoping to find other people to become passionate students with me that will want to grow more together. So, change is accelerating. Many people wanting mentoring from me tell me that they want to be a data scientist just like me, and I tell them, you're aiming way too low. You can become much better than me. I say this because it's absolutely true. I started life with a black and white TV, an encyclopedia set, a rotary dial telephone, in case I hope some of you even know what that is, and a giant phone book called the Yellow Pages, which was kind of like my internet. My first programs were written in Fortran on punch cards. Early in my career, I had no computer of my own, no internet, and no cell phone. Most of you have entered this world with the internet, Google, powerful computers, outstanding programming languages, cell phones, and tablets. You've entered this world at a far more advanced stage than I did. However, changes and challenges are also hitting you at ever faster rates. You'll encounter different challenges than I have, but I have something that's both ancient and modern that'll help you tremendously. Again, it's integrating brilliance. I want to show you how to use it just in an introductory way to grow faster and better than I've grown, and how to use it in ways that I wished I had used it when I was younger. Here's the first part of integrating brilliance, the concept of integration itself. And this is still beautiful to me after many, many years. Running a sum of very small areas under that top acceleration curve, we can predict velocity. This is digital integration. And when I first learned it, it was like I was mentally set free, because analytical calculus is hard, especially with differential equations. Using a running sum of very small areas under the velocity curve, we can then predict distance. These principles, when expanded, enable us to predict the dynamics of extremely complex systems. Integration is powerful, though, and it can help us beyond the math. When you integrate, a time step that is too large will miss important details and predict inaccurately. A time step that is too small will be a little more accurate, but it won't be worth the increased calculation time, and we can't move on to our next problems that we need to investigate very quickly. Here's how we can apply this to life. If we try to learn things too fast and grow too fast, we'll miss important details, and our learning and growth will be poor at best. If we try to learn too much or to learn too many details, we'll run out of time and budget and fall short of our full potential. Thus, we optimize our learning steps to learn an adequate amount of detail at each step to maximize our lifelong learning. This is a first step in integrating brilliance. We apply this abstraction of integration itself to help us maximize our learning and our growth. But there's so much to learn as a data scientist. How can we learn more in less time? Let's integrate brilliance at even higher levels. I was super blessed to be taught the unified modeling approach that uses bond graphs. This is also called the generalized approach. Henry Painter of MIT back in the 50s and 60s integrated brilliant concepts of math and physics to give us this unified or generalized and visual modeling methodology. The two animated systems shown can be mathematically modeled with the same bond graph shown between them. All energies and state variables and parameters from various physical systems can be related through generalized energies and parameters and variables. The relations of all of these to one another in a system are made using visual bond graphs that perfectly represent the differential equations of a system and show the flows of energy throughout it from one element to another. How does this help us beyond physical system modeling, though? If energy and state variables and system parameters across multiple realms of physics can be generalized and clearly related to one another, can we find a similar generalization of concepts across multiple realms of knowledge in life and across multiple realms of life? Could it be that brilliant concepts in one realm are actually very similar and relatable to brilliant concepts in other realms? Yes. And when we understand concepts well in one realm, we can further abstract them to help us in other realms. I'm going to show you how at a beginner level, and I'm still there too. This adds great benefit to how much we can learn per time, to the quality of our learning, and to the benefits that we can gain from our learning. This is integrating brilliance at higher levels. Let's see how to do this with control system design. Now, control system design is another realm of generalized system modeling. We measure or estimate the current states of a system that we wish to control. We compare those measurements to the system states and we make corrections to get to the desired states. We also need to ensure that our control system only acts on the true state measurements and rejects noise and disturbances. Can we integrate brilliant concepts from control system design to help us in our careers and our lives? Yes. There will be times that people criticize us overly harshly. Avoid taking this personally. You know you aren't who you want to be yet. You know you aren't where you want to be yet. However, you are well on your way. Only care about your continual improvement. Take the content of criticisms matter-of-factly and use what you can to help you grow. There will be times that people give you false praise. Again, you only care about continual growth. Whether the praise is accurate or not, you only care about continual improvement. Keep seeking to move your current state towards your desired state. Keep finding ways to accurately measure the state of your learning and your growth and your development. Keep finding ways to move toward the state that you wish to be in. Learn to identify noise and disturbances and reject them, but politely. To go even higher, let's consider a weakness of generalized modeling and control system design. As systems grow in complication, physics-based modeling and control system modeling give small returns for increased complication. It's as though You've come to the edge of a cliff. You can see where you want to go, but you can't get there easily. This motivated the growth of data science, machine learning, deep learning, artificial intelligence, and reinforced learning. But even though all these methods are very powerful, there are limits to what they can do. For example, machines can't yet conceive unique ideas and concepts. It's as though in this regard, they are encaged. Where can we turn when our advanced analytical arts hit the glass? A program may not be able to conceive new ideas and concepts, but humans can. And design methodologies are important to every field. They simply exist by different names in each field. This is evidence that this generalization is already going on. We need to be more cognizant of it. How are design methodologies developed? You find successful creators and designers in a specific field, and you catalog their best practices and mentalities. Hey, isn't this like machine learning or reinforced learning, but for humans? Yes. Learning to continually improve our creativity and design skills catapults our problem-solving abilities. Great leaps aren't made by modeling and analytic skills alone. Creativity and good design are most needed. Now, can we generalize the power of design methodology to help us in our careers and lives? Yes. Always watch for and catalog best practices that you see. Turn them into a model, as we'll show. In every area of your life and from everyone and from everything, learn. By living this mentality, you adopt the great character of Michael Faraday, someone I wished I could have met, but I regard him as a brother in the sciences. No matter what you look at, if you look at it closely enough, you are involved in the entire universe. I encourage you to read more about him. But there are even weaknesses to design methodologies that we must guard against. Ego and debate almost constantly appear and slow down our creative design work. Decision matrices help, but not completely. Is there a solution? Yes. Edward de Bono and his 6 thinking hats. Now, let me explain this. We all tend to think in 6 modes. In a creative problem-solving group, every person can have their own agenda and be in a different thinking mode, and problems that need solutions in a group are like boulders that need to be moved around obstacles by that team. If we all push in the same direction as we move the boulder around these obstacles, we'll do our best. If we all agree to think in one mode at a time and switch modes in unison, we can move bigger thoughts, bigger problems, find better solutions, and we'll develop better solutions together in less time. So using such methods, we learn to integrate the brilliance of a group by keeping them in unison. But I want to show you how to go even higher. You're about to see a brilliant abstraction in practice from the past, like the brilliant conceptual abstractions I promised when we looked at generalized system modeling. And it's a combination of green hat tools in the 6 thinking hats, the conceptual genius of generalized system modeling, and design methodology. So basically, it's an integration of those things. It's integrating brilliance. It's often called benchmarking, and it is truly integrating brilliance across realms. It's best exemplified by benchmarking that Southwest Airlines did, or integrating brilliance that Southwest Airlines did a certain way. Analysis showed them that reducing time spent at gates would greatly improve profits. Using benchmarking principles, they abstracted the processes, get this, of race pit crews, and then applied those principles to reducing the time spent at airport gates for their planes. This worked amazingly well, and Southwest Airlines continues to innovate at this level of thinking to great benefit. Obviously, we can use this integration of brilliance called benchmarking in multiple areas of our careers and our lives from this example. But How can we visualize these methods better? Let's look at helpful tools used in the green hat thinking of the 6 Thinking Hats tool set. Imagine that you're working with a team to solve a problem. You develop a first idea. So we ask, how can this idea help us find more ideas? Determine the concept behind the idea, and from that concept, you can generate many more ideas. Now, what if one of the ideas seems crazy? Keep it, develop it, nurture it. There may be parts of that idea that are very valuable. In fact, many brilliant ideas have been derived from seemingly crazy ideas. And there's many examples of that. Many times, the best solution is an integration of parts from multiple ideas. A highly integrated solution is literally a hybrid solution, which is a whole that is greater than the sum of its parts. How is this possible? Well, it depends on the need. A silly example, consider a rock and a branch. Used together, they can become a powerful lever. So, using the above processes over and over, we can find multiple concepts and many more ideas. However, we can generalize even higher using abstractions. And an abstraction will help you cross from one realm to many other realms. What areas can give us beneficial abstractions? All of them. Art, history, science, law. I consider law an area of science, by the way, when used correctly. Nature, sports, entertainment, and non-STEM philosophies. We could go on. We can use abstractions from any realm to help us in any realm. Our greatest advancements in data science have been made by doing this. I'll illustrate this soon. Please note, by emphasizing the learning of concepts and abstractions and generalizing them, we can learn more. We can learn it much faster and even integrate this faster learning safely. Now, how long have humans been integrating brilliance? Because, like I said, I didn't originate this stuff. I've just observed it. I'm saying people aren't necessarily cognizant of it. Well, although it's not been called integrating brilliance, humans have been practicing it for more than 2,400 years, even before Socrates and Plato. However, we've not been very cognizant of it, like I said. Socrates had this famous saying, "The unexamined life is not worth living." Plato, his greatest student and most devoted student, formed an academy. And at this academy, students spent the first 10 of 15 years studying math and science. The goal of the academy was to develop great philosophers that knew how to examine their lives and how to help others do the same. However, the years devoted to math and science built solid philosophical foundations in the students' minds. Let's always help each other remember that data science is an area of philosophy, and that good philosophy includes math and science, and such philosophy helps us live our lives better. We learn amazingly powerful and beautiful things in data science and other areas of STEM and in life. We spend much more than 10 years to become good data scientists. After all that effort, isn't it great to see that we can conceptualize and abstract our learning to further benefit our careers and our lives? In fact, let's review how we got where we are today. Consider the many brilliant minds and research communities of ancient India. Consider the many brilliant minds and research communities of ancient Greece. Consider Plato's academy and the research community at the Library of Alexandria. And frankly, there were so many in India, I can't even name them all. But here was where the first great integration of history happened for math and science. The House of Wisdom in Baghdad, where Al-Khwarizmi fathered algebra. If he hadn't done that, we wouldn't have this conference today. And he did it by integrating Indian and Greek brilliance. Huge step increase for us. And then if it hadn't been for Abu Kamil working hard to understand what Khwarizmi came up with and expanding it and making it known, we wouldn't be here where we are today. And there are many, many others. Don't have time to name. Consider the brave, truth-seeking English Adelard of Bath, who traveled across Europe to the Middle East as far as the House of Wisdom in Baghdad after the Crusades to gain as much knowledge as possible and bring it back to England to teach it. I personally consider him the single greatest integrator of knowledge of all time. Without his efforts, we would not be at this conference today. Consider Newton, Faraday, Maxwell, Einstein, and Turing. And still with us today, consider Hinton, LeCun, and Sutton. If any one of these people had not contributed as they have, we could not be where we are now. But how were they able to do it? They kept integrating from each other, from the past and forward. But there's the hidden history too. All the communities, all the teachers that they had, etc. So how can we learn from this history? Integration of knowledge happens over time and space. How can we add to this amazing legacy of knowledge and integration even better? Consider what our fast flight through history just showed us. Become more together people. Don't try to have more of anything than others, especially knowledge. Seek to have more, especially knowledge, with others. Share what you learn. Respect those before us. We can climb higher mountains as a team than as individuals. And it's less lonely and safer this way also. Let's do some more. Let's consider Benz, Carl Benz, the great vertical genius who invented the automobile. Henry Ford, the horizontal genius who invented the mass production of automobiles. Consider how continuous improvement brought us better electronics and hybrid vehicles and Tesla-type cars. Consider the integrated thinking of the Wright brothers that's rarely been bested. Consider how Curtiss improved on their design, and later the integrated company of Curtiss-Wright was born. Then came jets, rockets, helicopters, and drones. And drones are only beginning to change aviation. Consider Turing and his enigma breaker. Analog computers. I bet a lot of you don't even know what those are, but they're amazing. Digital computers and how brilliant humans have integrated biology, psychology, math, and computing to create deep neural networks, convolutional neural networks, and reinforced learning. Consider the amazing recent integrations to create GPT-type transformers with a massive integration of intellects. Notice among these breakthrough papers in artificial intelligence, Attention Is All You Need has 8 authors compared to 2 or 3 for the other breakthrough papers. With a massive integration of concepts on generative predictive transformers, notice the growth in GPT model parameters over time, and also their massive integration of funding and computing. The supercomputer that trained GPT-3 used 283,000 CPUs, 10,000 GPUs, and a massive storage system and more. But it was more the open AI community, the integration of the brilliance there. The greatest products are great integrations. The greatest learnings are great integrations. The greatest integrations usually come from highly integrated thinking, communities, and resources. Okay, this is kind of fun. I want to illustrate some of the brilliance of reinforced learning principles to you. I'm a student of reinforced learning and I love learning it. Now, I'm going to fast forward the training of this policy-based reinforced learning agent environment that I programmed from scratch. Now, I programmed it from scratch to learn more, and I received far more insights than I expected. At the beginning of its life, the RL agent explores more because it doesn't know much. Always, though, it's trying, it's learning, it's collecting data, and then reviews and revises its policies or its plan. Early in its learning life, it makes really bad policies, as you'll see, but it continues learning from bad moves and good moves alike. In each learning episode, it's learning and seeking to improve its policy from estimates of estimates. Sounds kind of human, doesn't it? Notice that at the end, it did not develop a complete policy for the entire environment. So we're going to fast forward to that, and I'm just going to show you. Look at the policies in the lower right. It did not develop a complete policy for the entire environment. Look at the lower right corner again. However, if you look up to the upper and left from that, the policies that it does develop are more than adequate. Look at how it learned many ways to avoid the losing state and how to reach the winning state. How can we learn from this? I think we can learn a lot from it. We can learn a great deal from this agent and others like it. Now, the next thing I want to do, let's get off this slide. Thank you. I want to show you a model that integrates Brilliance. Now, please note, I'm not trying to sell you on this specific model. I'm using it as an example of how I examine my life and to help me grow at a good rate. It helps me remember the great wisdom that's been given to me. If it doesn't work for you, make your own model or refactor this model for yourself. However, I do want to sell you on what I've been speaking about. That is becoming students with me that use philosophical concepts abstracted from the great brilliance all around us, especially data science, to help us more in our careers and our lives. It's my hope that we can all benefit much more from the beautiful and powerful philosophies that we work so hard to learn. Now, using careful conceptualizations and abstractions from specific STEM philosophies, including data science, of course, and other areas of knowledge, I know we can do this, and we can do so more together. So, notice these growth and learning cycles I have here. They're the foundation of my generalized learning and growth model. We can learn better than reinforced learning agents due to our abilities. So we modify this loop slightly from what an RL agent would do. We start by learning from fellow humans. Now, this is something RL agents can also do with other RL agents or humans when we let them. Then we try after we learn. If we succeed, we can advance to our next learning and growth loop. If we don't succeed, that simply means that we're still learning. Notice I've avoided the F word. We rest, we review, we revise our plan, and we try to discern what new things we need to do to proceed. Now, data science is growing faster than any one person can keep up with it. We must be masters of our own learning plans. With our limited time, we must ask ourselves, why am I learning this? We can improve our whys over time by continuing to examine ourselves and be honest with ourselves and be willing to make adjustments. Try to align these whys with your overall big why or your life vision statement. Be willing to improve your big life vision statement over time as you learn and grow. Also be self-aware. Am I willing to be like Michael Faraday and learn from anyone and teach anyone? I remind myself that I'm almost completely blind and ignorant. If I'm arrogant, I will only worsen those conditions. If I'm humble and willing to learn from everyone and everything, I can reduce these steadily over time. Now remember integration, how helpful and powerful it is, how it can help us at many levels. We talked previously about it using appropriate step sizes. If we don't carefully integrate what we've learned in the past with what we're learning now, we'll waste learning energy and time. If we don't integrate our recognition of generalized concepts and principles, we cannot learn and remember as much. Also, there will be times that people will say your idea won't work, or they'll say you don't have the right stuff, or you're not smart enough. They're usually wrong. Usually we just need more development. I've allowed I've allowed myself to be talked out of way too many good ideas. There'll also be times that people believe in you or your ideas too much. Care about finding the truth. Find ways to honestly and accurately evaluate yourself and your ideas. Learn to identify noise and disturbances and reject them with verifications. Apply this in each learning loop and over multiple learning loops at one time. Keep a level head to stay on course with your learning and be willing to make course corrections. I want to go over this really quickly. Guys, please believe in yourself, your potential, and put it into motion. Make it kinetic. You're going to encounter resistance, but find brilliance, remain open to integrating it, implement it, experiment, keep refining your plans, and use grit. But even though you'll be practicing grit, stay rested. And if you keep doing this in a loop, you will grow your potential. Guys, thank you very much. I'd like to take some questions now, if I can.
Tom, man, that was such a great presentation, my friend. Thank you so much for putting that together. I really, really enjoyed that. Guys, do me a favor. If you find anything that you really resonated with, go ahead and quote Tom. Take a picture of us right now. Tag us both on LinkedIn. Let us know what you liked about this presentation. If you haven't followed Tom already, go find him on LinkedIn. Go find me on LinkedIn. We're going to start getting into questions. But Tom, I just want to say that's such a rationally optimistic worldview that you have. I really, really, I mean, it's optimistic because it means that we can keep improving. We can keep making progress, not only us personally, but our field and science as a whole. We can keep discovering new things. There is no end to progress. There's no end to science, right?
Agreed. And Harpreet, I want to tell everyone you're living it. You've been a great example to all of us. I don't know anyone that works harder to go investigate the modern day experts, the amount of energy you put in to interview your artists of data science guests on your podcast, the way you show such consideration to get input from everyone in your Friday office hours. You're living this. We need to help each other live it more together by talking about it at this level.
Yeah, man. I mean, it starts with us realizing that we're at the beginning of infinity, really, right? Think about the age that you grew up in, the age that I grew up in, and now some people who are younger than us, right? We're always going to be at the beginning of infinity, precisely because we can improve our ideas. And what do I mean by beginning of infinity? An infinite amount of progress and knowledge to be gained. I think it's a very, very beautiful presentation, Tom. I got some questions that I'll kick off with. By the way, guys, if you have questions, go ahead, drop them in the chat. We're going to get to as many of them as possible. Don't forget, take a screenshot right now, tag us both on LinkedIn. I want to see all that action happening. Tom, you talked about the 6 thinking hats. That's something I'm a huge fan of as well. Do you have like a framework that you follow to determine which hat to wear in a given situation? Like, walk us through that.
Yeah, usually, depending on the situation, the blue hat person, which is the facilitator, he'll wear the other hats, but the facilitator is always trying to keep the blue hat on. Think about the thinking process. And usually that facilitator should lay out a plan and kind of get buy-in from the group that they're facilitating to say, we're going to follow this order in the hats. But I think it's important to be flexible too, to say, I'm getting the sense that we need to go back to this hat. Do you all agree? Are you all okay with that? And usually if the facilitator really cares about just finding the best idea, not creating their own agenda, that is super powerful. But it does help to start out with a proposed order of hats as you collect data. One of the best things about using the 6 hats is it makes sure you're getting equal contribution from each mind at the table. Whereas sometimes American culture will kind of exclude certain people from speaking, especially the introverts. They have great thoughts. So there's many reasons I'm in love with the 6 thinking hats, but I was working hard to get good at design methodology. And when I would lead groups with design methodology, I found this ego and debate thing entering in, like Edward talks about. And when I started employing the 6 hats, it was like magic, literally magic. And those that take the time to get good at Six Hats Facilitation, they all have the same testimony. It's amazing how you can bring a group of minds together. You've basically taken off the blinders of what thinking mode each person's in, and now everybody's thinking in unison, and you can really, it's so accurate that you can get better solutions in less time, because now you're truly exploring the solution space better together, more together.
Yeah, I like that the integration of ideas. You mentioned how the GP was it no the attention all you need Transformers white paper had 8 people on that.
Exactly.
Like, what do you think is the relationship between knowledge, right? Maybe diversity of knowledge and creativity, and how does that how can the integration of ideas plus knowledge plus creativity help us kind of progress forward? Does that question kind of make sense, or was that?
It does. It's basically what I hear you asking me is, and forgive me if I'm rephrasing your question too much, but boy, it seems like the real issue with people exploiting this more, and I mean that exploitation in a good way because it's concepts, right? Um, have we thought of enough dimensions? Absolutely not. This is where we have to help each other remember the dimensions. And so it's a spirit of thinking, what are we missing here that could add to our thinking, that could add to our philosophy of solving this current challenge? Let me review real quick. Here, the Indians and the Greeks coming up with brilliant things in ancient times, but not having a chance to interact. And Alexander, I'm not going to call him the Great, had this opportunity. He tried to go in and conquer India. What a waste. If at that point in time they'd integrated the knowledge, we'd be way ahead of where we are now. But it wasn't until the golden age of Islam where the Arabs integrated the brilliance of the Indians and the Greeks. And it's even amazing that Al-Khwarizmi was able to do that at that time period. But thank God he did it, because literally we wouldn't be talking here today if he hadn't.
Yeah, absolutely. We got some questions coming in from the audience here. This question is, how do we know that the learning path that we make is the correct one? The data science world is changing so rapidly, and new concepts and tools are appearing. How do we know? How do we know we are learning the correct methods or concepts?
Yeah, it's like I would have loved to have spent. Are my slides still showing, Harpreet?
They're not. No, no.
Oh, that's okay. So as you study the basics of reinforced learning, and oh, oh, okay. Let's go back to this one slide. I hated to blast through it. Right there. You see this going back and forth. This is values, how well it's doing, and then it's creating a new policy. And then it's based on what it's learning. You see it doing this. Guys, come up with a plan. I was teaching some of my adopted kids around the world this recently. Develop a plan. I'm going to promise you something. Your initial plan for your life, your learning, even what you're doing in your current problem for work, it's going to stink. Try, see what's happening, take that as learning, and revise your plan. As you focus on developing your conceptual knowledge of all the beautiful things that we do, you're going to have a better sense over time of how to approach each new problem. But we have to remain humble and learn from everyone and everything. And you may be the one that needs to go investigate things a little deeper to help the community. Don't just get pissy or angry because you can't find just that right blog post or that right book to help you with your current conceptual dilemmas. Be the one to figure it out yourself sometimes and bring it to the community. And you don't want to hide it or hold it to yourself, because then others can't help you improve it. One reason I'm excited to present this material, Harpreet, I want others to help me improve it. I don't think that it doesn't exist. I think as humans, we're not cognizant of the fact that when great things happen, it's because brilliance was integrated.
That was absolutely love that. Very well put. There's a question that's coming in that's very relevant to what you're just discussing, and that was it's coming from Christoph. How can total beginners become givers? I think you touched on that slightly there.
Yes. And Harpreet, I think we've talked about this many times in office hours. It is so valuable uh, to share what you are learning because your perspectives of your learning that you're sharing with the community in a LinkedIn post or a blog post or your GitHub repo, you may think, by the way, Kaggle is valuable. I just got to say that. There's dirty data in Kaggle. I can attest to it. But showing the world how you're going about that after you've looked at several other notebooks for that same problem, it's valuable because now you're offering your unique look to it. And even if someone comes along either harshly or nicely and says, hey, that's bull, thank you. I'm going to go look at that more closely. Improve it over time. Notebooks aren't set in stone. So you, if you start sharing right away, you're going to get really good. You're going to get feedback. I've got to mention one of my daughters from India, Tina Mary. I gave her the Ta award. In case you don't know Ta, you got to go read my blog post. But Ta is a mythical data scientist that is growing well. And the reason I gave it to Tina, she was going through grad school for data science. She would write these excellent LinkedIn posts on basic principles, and she would be worried about that. But they were written so good. Even John Thompson saw her name come across on a show and he called her out. Oh, Tina, she writes really great LinkedIn posts. That blew her away. She presented with me when we were talking about automating machine learning pipelines. It scared her to death. I said, Tina, you're ready. You're a good teacher. It got her a position. Just get out there and share. You make yourself more visible. And as the wise Lewis Owen taught me, it's not the best data scientists that get the opportunities, guys. It's the most visible. But by seeking to be more visible in a giving way to the community, you're actually forcing yourself to grow a lot faster in many ways.
Absolutely, Tom. Love that, guys. Right now, Tom, let's smile for the camera. And as Tom and I are smiling, you guys take a screenshot, post this on LinkedIn, tag me, tag Tom, hashtag DSGO virtual. Tom, let's smile for the camera real quick. All right. So there's one last question, Tom. I think it's a good one we should get to, even though we only got 20 seconds left here. But if we want to use one word to describe how to integrate the brilliance for all fields we face in life, what is the word?
Well, collect and conceptualize. Keep doing that philosophically.
Yeah.
Become good philosophers.
Yes, exactly. If you guys don't study philosophy, you should spend some time delving into the subject. It's a beautiful subject, one of my favorite ones. Tom, my friend, it's good to see you here. It's good to have you back and to chat with you, even though it was just yesterday we're hanging out. Take care.
Take care.